77 and 69, revolution was in the air.
Of the big machinery, again, small producers are driven out of business. So no one who isn't capable of owning the equipment that creates the kind of efficiency that these big plants have is capable of competing. So you're just squeezed out. So Karl Marx writes a lot about this in the 19th century, and many sociologists continue to follow it, that the kind of middle-class world of independent producers is very hard to sustain in capitalism. And even, we'll talk more about this hopefully yet at the end of today, but people like Irving Goffman, sociologist Irving Goffman, wrote his master's thesis on gas station owner-operators, people who own and operate gas stations, and in the 1950s. And what he found is that these people only think that they're independent, right? They own their own gas station, but they're really franchisees of a big oil company, and they're really a kind of retail shock absorber for the oil industry. Work long hours, you make very little money, you try to sell pop and ice cream and other things at the same time that you're selling gas to try to make a little money on it, but you're really not independent in the same way that a person who was an independent craftsman or something like that in the pre-industrial period would have been. So I don't know if any of you know people who own chain restaurants or who own other businesses that are linked into the larger system. Even many farmers today aren't actually farming independently, but they're farming under contract, right? They're contract their cattle, they contract their crops out as well. So independence kind of disintegrates. Big factories then are located close together on the fringes of cities, and this created those huge industrial slums. They created living conditions that were just abominable. And Frederick Engels, Karl Marx's co-author, his first book was a kind of expose of the miserable slum working conditions in Manchester, England, in the middle of the 19th century. And again, this is really what spurred the growth of social science in the industrial West. How do we deal with this huge influx of people that are just piled up on top of each other without planning, without resources, without social organization? How do we handle crime? How do we handle deviance? How do we provide education? How do we do all of the things necessary to create a kind of worthwhile life for people who are working in factories? That was what sociology is about. By 1930, we really had a fully industrialized economy. But let's sort of do this graphically with hands here, okay? Remember when I said a couple days ago that the pre-industrial traditional economy was a world in which the economy was controlled by and contained within society, right? People work in order to live, you don't live in order to work, right? And my claim is that even in the walled towns, you wind up creating a world in which the economy became the center of life. You had to pay that tax, that kind of thing. But you still had individual autonomy and social democracy or democratic politics as a way of life that kind of contained and controlled the economy as an institution. It's really the first industrial revolution with the creation of the manufactory where you begin to see the economy emerging as the single dominant institution that causes changes in all of the other ones, okay? So the first industrial revolution and then the second industrial revolution, again, if this is social power and this is the economy, traditional society, maybe you get a kind of breaking through a little bit in the walled towns, but by the time of the first industrial revolution, yes, society is sort of weakening. Second industrial revolution, society is weakening quite a bit as the economy is growing in power and strength. The upper class is really leaving others behind, and the economic structure of the industrial world is what is controlling everything. Where cities are located, how people live, how much money they make, what kind of faith people have, what kind of family, all of these things are being controlled by the economy. So from the 1930s to the 1970s, we characterize that period now as Fordism. And what Fordism refers to is a world in which the society and political power grow strong enough to match the power of capitalism, corporations, absentee owners, finance, those kind of things. And our claim is going to be that it's really under Fordism that modern society kind of recovers again that configuration that was present in the walled towns. capitalism as an economic system managed by a representative democratic political system with at least some buy-in from working people, and at least an effort to have government responsible and responsive to working people. And then a culture of individual autonomy. A sense that it really wasn't until the Fordist period that we get mass education that does more than just prepare people for industrialization. So my claim is that modernism and Fordism went together, and that they, again, Fordism helps recover the social democratic and the individual autonomy, those aspects of life that were present in the walled towns that had been absent from the Second Industrial Revolution. Okay? So Fordism and modernism go together. We find modernism reaching a kind of high point. Some people call it a high tide of modernism during this period. Okay? Class inequality is reduced sharply during this period. And there's going to be two reasons for that. One is that, we'll look at it on the slides, high taxes on unearned income. And this is really important. Fordism was fueled by high taxes on unearned income. It's that simple. And then at the bottom, people were supported by transfer payments, the emergence of something like a modest welfare system, unemployment, these other things. So inequality, where the unearned income of elites had escaped taxation. We didn't even have an income tax in America until about right after World War I, or during World War I, when we first had an income tax.
Where you have the masses of people who don't make very much money, you have a few elite who make a lot, a middle class here, right? Instead of having a world that looks like this, he kind of created a world that looked more like this, right? A world with a sort of small lower class, a big, well-paid working class, a moderately paid middle class, right? And then again, the absentee owners who aren't getting unlimited income, but are actually getting kind of constrained income. But the big thing I want you to see is this. This was what Ford did. Middle class people, working class people, combined into one big mass market. That's what Fordism does. Instead of producing, again, luxury yachts and Cadillacs for elites, and selling used crap cars to us, the bottom, the goal is to create a world in which there is a thick mass of working middle class people who can purchase and who earn roughly the same amount of money and are in the same market, that kind of thing, okay? Okay. So by doing this, you see what happens if you do this? And so if you aim at an elite market, you can only sell to the elite. And once an elite person has a car, they don't need 7. They might buy 7, but they don't need 50, right? And so your market's limited. But if you're aiming at a middle class and aiming at middle and working class, at this common person, a mass market, and you're constantly trying, and even using government policy to increase the size of that mass market, you can sell so many more products, right? And you can design production facilities that are ever more efficient because the throughput is so great, that kind of thing. So this is a basic logic. Mass consumption is the foundation for efficient, profitable mass consumption. In Fordism, high wages are viewed as a good thing. If people are making more money, there's more that they can purchase, right? Which is good for me, and it's good for capitalism, and it's good for all of us.
You want a revolution?